Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. This podcast is for those that wish to break free, and that could be break free from programming, be break free from the system, it could be break free from addictions, traumas, triggers. I hope this podcast resonates with a lot of people, and I thought and felt that my first guest should be my brother, who has a pretty awesome story to share. So, Jordy and I have had an up and down relationship. The last couple of years, we've had more ups than downs, but we'll delve into our story. He can talk about his journey and what Jordy does, and we'll put his stuff in the show notes at the end. And I really hope you enjoy our story and also Jordy's story. So without further ado, this is my brother Jordan. How are you, Jordan?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Beautiful sunny day here in sunny Victoria. So, tell me, Jordan, or tell the listeners and the viewers your journey.
Alright, my journey. Well, it's been an interesting journey so far. I don't even know where to start. Where would you like me to start?
How about you start at the start of 2020 and work your way through, and then we'll go back to our journey.
Alright, well, start of 2020, I was the last event before anything really happened was I went to the Australian Open and with a group of friends. It was great. Saw the I think the Veronicas performed at the Australian Open as well, which was really good. I enjoyed that. And then my friends and I, we booked to go to different concerts and stuff. Groove in the Moo, and there was this Soap Pop concert that came to Victoria, or was coming to Victoria. And then, COVID hit and everything got shut down and things changed. And then, probably late 2020, I decided to move out. Which, looking back, wasn't the greatest choice. I probably shouldn't have done it. Moved out too early. Then I got a job last year working for a betting company, which was just watching tennis and looking at all the bets that were coming in. Lost a friendship due to getting a job and having to move out. And then lost the job. Actually, I moved in with our cousin, and then that fell through. Then came back home. Lost the job, and then the mandates all hit, and then we decided to go away towards the start of this year, and then that pretty much takes us to now. Came back to Victoria, and hasn't life changed since we left.
Do you want to touch on your awakening journey for us, please?
My awakening journey. I feel like you want me to touch on this because you're the one who helped me awaken.
Yes, that's why I want you to touch on it. So just touch on that for a bit.
Well...
And give a shout out to the people that helped you too, because they'll watch.
Well, I guess it started with you, and, but I always thought there was something fishy too, like you could go to the pub and, but you couldn't have people over. And I was like, okay, rightio. Because that makes sense. But... you pretty much were doing all the work, and you were just telling me about it, and I just kind of didn't debate any of it because it made sense to me at the time.
Well, now, how about your spiritual journey?
Spiritual journey.
You did some really awesome videos that we'll post links to in the bottom. It's all on Jordy's YouTube channel, but he did do a series of videos over the last 3 months, touching on different things in his life, and I feel like your spiritual journey is pretty special. So why don't you share part of that for us?
Well, I was always spiritual. I've always had a spiritual side. I mean, I used to see things in our house. I used to see things. I hated being home alone. I really hated being home alone. And I'd always sit in the one room, which was the lounge room at the time, until the blue light TV came in there. So then I moved out of there. But as a kid, I'd always sit in that lounge room, and I'd always had the light on. And I remember any time I had to go to the toilet or leave that room, I would always put my hand out to the kitchen, put the light on, and then I'd walk through. I wouldn't just walk through. I needed a light on, and sometimes I still do. because there's just, I don't know, I just feel sometimes the energy in the house, it can be off every now and then. It's no fault of anyone's, but it's just how it is. And it really got interesting when we left, and I met Gina, the amazing kinesiologist. I'm sure Nathan's been banging on about her, but she's actually really good. And I still remember the very first session I had with her. She had me on the table, and she's like, you can do everything I do, right? And I'm like, what? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, you can do everything I do. You can be a medium if you want to be. You can do this or that. And I remember medium really stuck with me. So I guess that's where that just stuck. So I wanted to be a medium. I got some card decks and just threw myself straight into the deep end of having clients and just seeing people. And I feel like that's the best way for me to learn and to train and to get stronger, is just to keep seeing people, whether they pay or not. It doesn't really worry me. But yeah, it just kind of fell into my hands, and I haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. You've had a few ups and downs though along the way. Not gonna lie, I've pretty much ridden them with you. And do you want to touch on some of the ups and the downs, or?
Yeah, we can touch on that. So,
and how you got yourself out of those down periods. For anyone out there that's riding the emotional roller coaster of the human experience on Earth, be really good for some listeners if they are struggling in the down periods. I know people have heard how I've got myself out. It'd be nice if you could touch on your downs and how you got yourself out of them.
Well,
with maybe a personal example as well.
All right. Well, from a young age, when I was at primary school and that, especially primary school, I didn't have a lot of friends. There was a couple of people I was friends with, but primary school was hard. I never wanted to go. I was bullied a lot. I sort of became a bully a little bit, and then once I got in trouble for that, I kind of just was like, whoa, okay. So then I obviously stopped, but I was still getting bullied profusely myself, and I guess the way I don't know, I just kept getting through it. I just kept pushing through, and I remember, being a little kid, and Mum would always be like, oh, you got to go to school, and she'd threaten to call the principal, which used to work until I worked her game out, and she was actually calling Dad, not the principal. So once I worked that out, I realised, well, go on, call the principal. So then she'd call, and it was Dad, and she'd put Dad on the phone, and I'm like, well, Dad's at work, and it'd take at least 15 minutes for him to get home. So there's another 15 minutes of playing this game of trying to get me to go to school. And I kind of outsmarted them a little bit, in the sense of I knew what they were up to. So I knew their game. So I was like, well, this is not going to work. We can keep trying, but good luck.
During your darkest days, Jordan, what did you do to get yourself out of your holes?
Well, I haven't actually finished, because that was the beginning.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So, that was the beginning of the dark days. But then high school, the bullying continued, and bouncing around from friends. Some of the friends that I made weren't great in high school. There's some of them that I look back on and I'm like, yeah, they were good for that period of my life. Probably year 10, that group of friends I had in year 10, they were the better ones. But the ones that I sort of made in year 7, they weren't great, and they would pick on me too, but they thought it was funny, and it was just became this joke, and I realised that, well, I'm not going to be the brunt of your jokes. Like, that's not fair. That's a form of bullying too. So, but yeah, I guess how I got through that is I just always felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. No matter what I was going through, no matter how I felt about myself, there was always a light at the tunnel. There was always going to be, I was always going to get through it. I don't know how to describe it. I just always felt, as much as I didn't want to be here and I wanted to end my life, I still felt like, no, I won't. I wanted to, but I knew I wouldn't, because I knew that I'd be here and I'd get myself through it.
That's very powerful. There always is a light at the end of the tunnel, and do you have a deeper understanding of what that light is now that you've got yourself out of that?
I do. And
What is that light?
I guess it's I would call it I would say it's a bright light that shines on you, and it's like a spiritual light in a sense, because it made me feel like there's a bigger reason why I'm here. I have to go through all this. I have to learn the lessons that I needed to, and I had to face myself in a sense.
Your
and
dark night of the soul?
Well, you can say that, but those are your words, not mine. But
your interpretation would be lovely.
Yeah, I guess I had to face who I really am, what I'm here for, and, you know, figure out my purpose, figure out my identity away from you and mum and dad. And I needed to figure out who I am as a person to actually grow and to truly accept myself, because I never did.
Well, we'll touch on that in a minute, but do you know why you never accepted yourself?
I guess I never accepted myself because I was always different. And, you know, I was kind of speaking about this with one of our friends in our group chat about, and she was talking about her child and how he's, you know, dressing up and doing all that kind of stuff, and he's embarrassed by it. And I'm like, that really reminded me of when I was like 4 and 5 and, you know, dressing up, and then all of a sudden I became embarrassed by it. I remember, because now that I'm working at a cafe, this older guy came in and he remembered me from when I was like 4, and he's like, "Oh, are you Jordan Francis? You're Michelle's son?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I remember you when you were a little kid and you were dressing up and you wanted to be like Kylie Minogue and you had this thing on your head." And I was like, and I'm just standing there, I'm like, I was like, I actually got embarrassed because, and I realized it was because this is a new job. These people don't know who I am and, you know, what I was like. And I had to deal with that. I had to deal with those emotions that were brought up by him saying that. And I'm thinking, oh, these are new people in my life. You know, what are they going to think of me? And I realised that even now I still sit in what people actually think of me and what people, you know, what their perceptions are of me. And I've had to do a lot to let a lot of that go.
Those of us that are doing the work, you will find that you'll get to a point where you don't care what other people think. You're the only gratification is your own, and that's what we're all learning now. So, and
that's the thing. I'm still learning how to love myself. I'm still learning to love myself the way I'm supposed to. Like, I had a phone call this morning from Gina, the kinesiologist, and she's like, "You seem really," because I thought that she was flat, but I was actually projecting myself onto her, and she's like, "Are you okay? Are you being kind to yourself?" And that got me thinking no, I'm actually haven't been kind to myself. I haven't been, you know, looking after myself properly for the last week, and that's why I've been a bit up and down this week, and even a little bit today. I'm like, I've had to do a lot of reflecting and work out what's going on, where this is coming from, why I feel the way I feel, and what is the lesson here that I need to learn.
Well, we'll just go back to something you said, which is a perfect segue into our journey, I guess. From when you're a kid, you used to dress up, and when I was a little kid too, and seeing you dress up, I wasn't able to accept you as a brother or as a person. I really struggled to accept you. For those that don't know, they haven't seen Jordan's stuff, Jordan is gay. For me to be able to even say that now I'm very proud of the man that he is. He's also lost a lot of weight through his emotions and stuff. His relationship with food has changed now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
But back onto our journey, I had a really tough time accepting you from probably when you were born till only the last 3 years, and some things happened in our personal lives that brought us together, and we've learned over the last few years that our bond's really, really strong. We are soulmates, as in brotherly form. Right now, he is my best mate, not only just my brother, and also the person that brings me back down to earth when I'm soaring. Just on that, I had a really tough time accepting you, and I also bullied you at home. I wasn't a very nice brother growing up. we can probably touch on that now. Did you want to take over?
I feel like that was the hard thing. Was I was copying it a lot at school, especially towards the end of primary school, leading into high school. I was really copying it, and then I was coming home and I was still copying it, and I was like, I just had no escape, and that's when I feel like I was never someone to sit in their room and lock themselves away and just, lay in bed all day and, be really depressed. I was never like that. My depression, in a way, I don't like saying that I had depression, but I was down a lot. So I guess the way it affected me was I just was never a happy child for a while. I was always the way I saw myself, especially growing up, was if we were at a family function or a family gathering, I was that one in the corner that would sit there and, it's like, what's his story? He doesn't really say anything, doesn't really interact, because I always felt like I was different from the family too. So it was hard, and coming home and copying it was hard, and I didn't like coming home, and I didn't like going to school, and I just had nowhere to escape to apart from the tennis court.
You can delve into it. Tell your listeners, tell my listeners, our listeners, our viewers, you really hated me.
I did.
Let's open that up.
I did. I did really hate you for a long period there. It was hard to say, because I remember the conversation. There was a lot that we were talking about at the time, and
we had this conversation only probably about 6-7 months ago in Noosa. We had this conversation, and he really opened up into why he hated me for so long. So during that conversation, there were lots of tears shed, obviously, and that conversation brought us closer together. But did you want to touch on that conversation?
There was a lot of tears shed, and it was hard. The conversation was about you understanding the position I was in, because I always felt like you never understood where I was at, the person I was, and I felt like, you'd said that you'd forgiven yourself and that you've dealt with it, but I don't feel like you were able to put yourself in my shoes until you heard me say that, you know what, I actually hated you, and honestly, to know that we went away for that period of about 4 months, I never thought we would do that. I never thought, and I just wanted to get myself to a position where I was old enough. This is how I felt as a teenager. I wanted to get myself to a position where I was old enough and I could support myself, and I would actually cut ties with Nathan. I wanted to, because of the way things were for us. I didn't, at the time, I didn't want you a part of my life, but gee, hasn't that changed?
Yeah, well, I actually didn't know that, and I sort of felt that he hated me, but I didn't realise how deep that hatred was until that night in Noosa, and I remember it was pouring rain. It was a dark room. We turned all the lights off, and we just said, righto, let's nut this out. And for us to be able to come together in that moment and cry that out was some of the most powerful healing I've ever done. And to actually hear you say those words, you can always do your things and say, yeah, I forgive and accept and stuff, but to hear the other person's side and then to have you say those things, a lot of it hurt at the time, but for us to grow, learn and heal and do all those things, that conversation had to take place. Otherwise, we'd still be stuck in our stuckness as brothers.
Yeah. And nothing would change. We wouldn't evolve. We wouldn't grow as brothers and understand each other the way we do now. And I know we still get frustrated with each other and we have our little tiffs, but it's never, ever the way it was.
No.
Where it was actually screaming matches and one of us wasn't talking to the other for at least probably a day. Maybe a few hours, until one of us decided to swallow our pride and be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I was wrong.
It was very hard for me to accept Jordan for all of him, and over the last 12 months for me to be able to say, Jordy, I accept you. I love you for who you are. I want to see you shine, and see you do all these awesome things that you have coming, I guess I had to say that and forgive and accept too, for you to be able to shine.
I needed that as well, because at the time you said that, I still didn't truly love and appreciate and accept myself, because I felt there was a part of me that I still didn't like. And this is a thing that I haven't actually fully spoken about with you, but I will say it here.
Oh, here we go.
This is how...
This is really authentic right now for everyone that's listening and watching.
To explain how dark things were for me in my head, it was hard to even look at myself in the mirror. And, you know, people would say, oh, you know, look in the mirror and say you love yourself. Yeah. And then you pick a couple of things that you like
mirror
about
work's
yourself.
Very important.
I had people in the past tell me that, and I didn't realise how important it was, because I would look in the mirror, I wouldn't say I love myself, I'd actually say I hated myself, and then then I couldn't even actually pick one thing I even liked about myself. That's how dark and how bad things were for me. I looked in the mirror, and I actually used to avoid the mirror in the bathroom. I used to just quickly change, get out of the shower, quickly dry myself, put clothes on, and then I'd get straight out, because I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror, because I never liked the person that was staring back at me.
One tip that we've done for the mirror at home, for those that are in that same position, putting I love you at the top of the mirror is so powerful and so important.
Or even next to it, like we do. We have it next to it, but it's so important for that subconscious mind to see that, to change that mindset that you might be stuck in, like I was.
Yeah, because as you would have seen in some of the stuff I do, the subconscious mind is the driving force, whether it's negative or positive. It will drive you to live out your worst life, or will drive you to live out your best life. And I feel like it should drive us to live out our best life. And if seeing I love you in the mirror is one good way of doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And even music helps too. I know through my story, music helped a lot. Whether it was the good music that you should listen to. It honestly, to me, it doesn't worry me. It didn't worry me. I would that was probably the biggest escape I had. That's why I used to sit up late at night. I never actually told this to you either. The reason why I'd sit up late at night was because I was listening to music, and it was like everyone was asleep, and I could finally feel like I had an escape in that house. So I would listen to music, and I would just sing in my head, and I'd dance, and that was my escape, apart from being on the tennis court. And that's why I'm thankful to tennis, and that's why it's still a big part of my life, because it is my escape from whatever's going on in my life. I will always have tennis, and I feel, because I don't have a lot going on anymore, because I've been dealing with a lot of my issues, and I'm actually facing them head on, and I'm actually dealing with myself now. Going back on the tennis court, it's very different. It's very different energy. I still am competitive, but I used to, I was that one that was actually taking the competition tennis on a Thursday night and a Saturday so seriously that I was screaming out, come on, and I was getting all pumped up. But I actually don't do that anymore. Like, yeah, I'm saying come on in my head, and I'm pumping myself up, but I'm not so aggressive like I was. I'm not so in your face. I'm just purely doing it for the enjoyment.
That's interesting you say that. I've been saying for a bit that everything is a relationship. It mirrors back to you, your reality. So can you tell us why you were aggressive?
Because I wasn't aggressive in my actual life. Like, I remember I've had a couple of people, even one of my old friends, they've said to me, geez, you are so different to what you are on the court. Like, I thought, I remember someone, when I was friends with her, when she first met me, she's like, oh, you were that kid that was screaming out, come on a couple of courts away. And I thought, oh my God, isn't he getting into it? And then we became friends, and she's like, geez, you are so different to what you are on the court. And I'm like, it was just, I don't know how to describe it. It was just a place where I could actually be aggressive, and I actually felt like I had control, because I didn't have control anywhere else in my life.
But you have control now, and that's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had to work on that too. But also I want to leave a lot to the universe too. So I don't want to have too much control, but I want to have enough to feel like I'm not giving a part of myself away to someone else.
Yeah. Like, we have the power, we have the control,
Yeah.
And that's pretty powerful to know and understand once you're going through it. But part of our journey for probably 6 months of the year was we were stripped bare. We had to let go of pretty much everything to then slowly gain everything. And the way it's played out for us is it's been a slow process, but things are happening, and we know where we're going. But if you don't do the work, as I said the other night on another interview I did, you'll remain stuck in your stuckness. You can go and see anyone you want. You can do all the work that you want. If you're not doing the work on yourself, you'll just remain stuck. And I feel and believe that's why people don't trust psychics, because they're afraid to do the work for that to come true.
But I also feel like a lot of them are afraid of what they're going to say, because
Correct.
How truthful are they going to be? Are they going to give me these truth bombs that I'm not ready to face myself?
Yeah, and that's the dark night of the soul, dark shadow work, whatever label you want to give it. I call it dark night of the soul. That's what that is, basically. I feel people out there, Jordy, are scared to face themselves and are scared to do the work.
I feel like some are, some aren't as well. Like some...
Do you reckon there's some souls screaming at people?
No, I just reckon there are some people that are living in their own delusion, if that makes sense. Like everything's happy. I'm happy. And it's like, are you though? Are you really? It's like that. They're in that fake happiness. And I feel like, if you walk down the street, you'd see that person who's got a, really big smile because they're forcing themselves to be happy. And it's like, that's why I can't... Sometimes I get frustrated with fake people, especially working in a cafe. You do run into a few of them. Especially though, I've always had an issue with those really perky people that, hi, how are you going? I'm like, oh, gee, you're so perky. And I'm like, sometimes it's like, it can come off as fake. And I'm like, I get, some people are perky, but some people are fake too. And it's those fake ones that I feel like they're the hardest to relate to, because you're like, you can tell that they're being fake. So then it becomes what's the real you? Who are you, basically?
Yeah.
Like, what is your identity? And that's that. And I understand that because I had to find my identity too.
Were you putting on a fake mask yourself?
No.
No?
Anyone who knows me knows that I wear my emotions on my face. You can tell from the minute, especially from the minute I get out of bed, you'll know what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption for those out there.
Sometimes I can hide it, and that's because there's something that
he can't hide it from me.
Oh, you'd be surprised. But sometimes I can actually hide it to the point where he might think there's something wrong, but there's actually not.
No, he's just staring then.
Yeah, pretty much. But sometimes you might think there's something wrong, or you might even not know there's something wrong. That's because there's something that I'm dealing with that's very personal that I don't actually want to share. So then I'm not letting you in on that. So you're wondering, I think he's okay, but I don't know.
Yes. What else can I ask you, Jordy? I've got a good question. This time 12 months ago, we met an incredible person, Vicky. I feel like we should. Let's touch on that. I feel like that was universally guided. We just happened to be at a friend's house for a gathering, and she was there and needed some guinea pigs for quantum healing, and I feel like that really set us off on this journey, I guess. So should we touch on that? I feel like we should. I went in first.
Yeah,
I remember
you did.
I had the first one.
Yeah, you did, but it was a different experience for me. I don't feel like it.
Touch on yours.
I don't feel like it set me off on anything, if that makes sense. Like, what came up just thinking back to that very first session was, for me, I was more healing things that I needed to heal at that time. So I was healing because I lost a friendship that. So I'm going to touch on this for a little bit.
That's fine.
And if she ends up finding this and does listen, I want to say that for me, we had a trauma bond. That is the best way to describe our friendship. We had a trauma bond, and I feel like because of both of our traumas that we were going through at the time, we were blinded in the sense of we're like brother and sister, we're this close, we're, you know, everything's great. And it took one... Like, we had little tiffs, but, like, they weren't anything major.
Can you just quickly describe a trauma bond for those that don't know what a trauma bond is? Give us your spiel.
My interpretation of a trauma bond is someone who's got a lot of trauma and a lot of baggage and hasn't faced it or dealt with it, and then they find someone on that same vibrational level, and they just click because they're both not facing their demons, in a sense, if you want to say that.
Or their dark night of the soul.
Yeah, they're not just
shadow
not
work.
facing. And so, you know, they're doing all those unhealthy things together. You know, they're eating bad food, they're drinking, they're whatever.
They're sabotaging together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we did. But there, you know, we weren't always eating bad food. You know, we weren't always drinking. There was a deeper friendship there, and I felt like once I worked on myself a little bit, started having these sessions with Vicky, and started, you know, improving mentally and facing myself, I feel like that's when things changed between us, and I felt like I was going up, but she was staying where she was in her level, you know, and nothing against her. It's just, to me, it felt like she had a lot going on, and she did. She had boy trouble. She was having this and that, and that's fine. And I wish her all the best. But I just feel like, to look back on that, it's a part of my life that I've had to let go. And as hard and as sad as it is, and look, I don't blame her in any way. I don't hate her. I don't, you know, I still wish her all the best, you know. If our paths were to cross at some point, if they were, or if they're supposed to, you know, I would say hi, and, you know, I'd talk, but I just feel like it won't ever be the same. It won't go back to being friends again. I feel like it'd be in a closure for the both of us, in a sense. But I also don't feel like we need that, because I feel like we both know that, you know, it was supposed to end and even though it was ugly and it wasn't the greatest ending, I still feel like we both made the right decision to just, you know, cut ties.
When you do this shadow work, this dark night of the soul work, people will exit your life. It's removing the old to bring in the new. You bring in new people. I call them the soul tribe, the soul family. You bring in people that are on your vibration, the vibrational match that I talk about. You bring in people that are on the same vibration as you, which is part of the awakening process, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
People will exit your life, people will come in, and I feel like some people aren't ready to make those big changes to allow that new, better life to come in.
I agree.
For those of us that are making those changes, Joy and I are still in it, but we have come out the other side of that. And I guess our old friends probably didn't understand why we were doing what we were doing. Like the real work that we were doing, we were just facing our dark night of the soul. And we realised that, I realised that the friends I had, I only ever had drinking, watching sport, chasing girls, gambling, casual sex in common with them, and it was very hard to face that and to let that go. But
you also had sport in common with them, like
I said sport. Yeah,
some of them that you'd actually played cricket with, you know, like you'd do stuff outside. Like I feel like sometimes when you do talk about it, you don't give them enough credit, in the sense of, when they were your friends, there was still some deeper connections there. Like, yeah, there was some surface level that you were doing that with, but some of them, you'd actually confided in them too. And I feel like sometimes when you talk about it, I don't know, I just feel like you don't always give enough credit to them sometimes, because I'm like, for the time in your life, some of them were lifelong friends, some of them you grew up with, some of them, you know, you still evolved and changed with some of them too. Like, as much as you were drinking and gambling and doing all that, some of them, they were bigger friends than what I feel like you give them credit for. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, they will probably watch this. I feel like that's well said. They need to know that I am sorry. But the people that I've brought into my life now, I wouldn't change them for the world. So
I agree. And I wanted to touch on with my friends.
So, yeah, what I was just going to ask you was... delve into yours, please.
So once that friendship ended, we were actually in a friendship group too. So there was another 3 in that group. So we stayed in contact, and we were the 4 of us, I should say, because it was me and the 3 others. We were still quite good friends, and we would hang out when we could, and we would drink and stuff like that. But then once I started to change, nothing bad. This is what I want to make sure that I get right, because if those other friends do listen to this, I want to make sure that you guys understand. I didn't just cut ties and be like, I'm done, this is what's happened. None of that happened. I felt our friendship, I just felt like it was ending. Like we were just sort of going on a different path. It kind of just ended. Like nothing bad happened.
Universal
yeah,
shift.
It was like, it just something shifted, and we didn't talk as much. We didn't, we didn't reach out. I felt like when it ended, I was in Queensland, you guys were here, and we didn't talk much. We weren't we weren't talking, and I just felt like the universe was putting me on other people's path, and which it did, and I just feel like nothing bad happened. And, I would still talk to you guys, like nothing on my end. There's no ill will. There's no bad. It just kind of happened. Like we kind of just, went separate ways. And I feel like sometimes that happens. And
it does happen.
And whether the universe puts us back on each other's paths again. And I know being at the tennis centre again, I'm with 2 of you. And... yeah, I just want to make sure, especially with tennis, summer tennis starting up, like I have no issues, nothing, like there's no hatred, there's nothing. I wish you guys all the best, and if we are meant to be friends again and, come back into each other's lives, then we'll find a way, if that makes sense. Like, I know every now and then I do think about you guys, and I feel like, should I message? Should I reach out? Should I do this? And should I do that? And I guess I'm stuck in the fact that I don't want to bring up the past, and I don't want to make it hard for you guys either. I don't want to reach out and have, and be drawn back into the past and having to talk about it, because I'm not that person anymore. And I feel like you guys haven't met this version of me who actually is confident, who actually has a voice and will speak up and will use it.
You're doing it right now.
And that's what I'm doing right now. And I feel like if we were to come back into each other's lives, it would be a clean slate. It would be, we're leaving the past in the past, and I want to get to know you guys on a deeper level and understand the people you guys are, and see if we are supposed to be in each other's lives. See if we are all supposed to be together still. Because if we are, then that's great. If we're not, then you know what? At least we tried.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I've been in 2 minds about, and it has played on my mind a lot, whether I should reach out, but I just don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back, in the sense of, oh, I've finally gotten to a place and now you're reaching out. You know what I mean? Like, so if you guys are watching, that's why I haven't reached out, and that's why when I did see one of you, it was a little bit awkward when I did say hi, and, we spoke for probably like a second, and it was a bit awkward. That's why. Because I'm not sure what I should do with that. So, yeah.
Well said. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say? If you want to, actually, we've got 2 things to go. Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of, if you have a message? Oh yeah, if you have a message out there for someone that's struggling, that might know there's a way out. They're seeing some of the things we're doing, or if they're stuck, if they're broke, they're depressed, they're addicted, they're sad, they're angry, they're frustrated. What would be your message to those people that are the silent viewers that haven't reached out yet? What would be your message to those people?
As weird as it is, and as how did you describe it?
Take your time.
As weird as it is, my only message is there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I know that sounds so cliche, and I know a lot of people say it, but I actually mean it, because I always saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I just could never get there until now, and until I had to. You're
lucky you had me though.
Sometimes. But I mean, you know, there was always a light at the end of the tunnel. I just couldn't reach it, and I could see it, but I couldn't get there, and I didn't know how, and I didn't know what it entailed, and I guess I wouldn't change this journey for anything. Like, I look back on everything I've been through and what's happened and what I've been through, and I just think, wow, look at the person I am now. I wouldn't be the person I am now if I hadn't have gone through all of that.
Hitting rock bottom, basically.
And faced what I needed to face.
We basically hit rock bottom.
And I guess I needed to face that I am a human being. I am here for a reason.
Yes, well said.
And
powerful.
As much as I felt that no one would love me and I was unlovable and all of that stuff, it's actually not true. And once you get yourself out of your head in that sense, because I know, heart. And into your heart, you'll be a lot better for it. Because I know sometimes my head does take over. And I remember one night a few weeks ago, I was thinking about something, and I turned what I was thinking about into, I was like, I'm not worthy. And I was like, hang on, whoa, that's old Jordy. No, I am worthy.
Yeah, well said.
And I had to really change that thought in my head to be like, no, hang on, I am worthy, and I am enough, and I am love, and I am lovable.
Correct.
And I had to face all that, and it was hard, but once you do it, you feel better for it, trust me.
But I feel people like us are helping people do that. During my darkest days as well, same as Jordy, I was doing the same stuff. It's finding love in oneself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And
if you don't love yourself, then how are you going to love others?
And it's finding how to love yourself and
Correct.
what that means for you, whether that is, you know, doing the simple things in life. Sometimes that just brings you love. Like, I know when I go for a walk, gee, I feel good. And I know it's...
Yeah, but there's a little friend you have who shows us pure love.
Yes.
And that is the purest love, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I will say,
our little friend, our
dog Bruno, once he came into our lives, it felt like my life had a purpose when it didn't at the time. My life, I will be honest, I felt like I had no purpose.
Yep.
And I was going through doing stupid jobs that I didn't even want to do. Yep. I had no interest in. And once I changed all that and worked all that out, and Bruno came into my life, I was like, I have a purpose here.
Yeah, it was the same for me too. Yeah. When he came into our life, I was going through a pretty messy breakup on my end. I was heartbroken. I was scarred from love. I was lost. All of that stuff I've spoken about. But having him in my life meant more to me than anything. I felt like at times he was my only friend. Even though I did have friends, but I felt like he was my only friend because he showed me the purest love.
Yeah. And
that's the love we all reincarnate here to crave, is that pure love. That pure, unconditional love.
And I feel
you got to find that for yourself first, and that is the most beautiful thing. Once you find that for yourself, look out. It's so powerful.
I also feel like he was the one who actually showed me how to love and how to be loved,
by the way.
because I never understood how someone could love me, and especially because I had a lot of body image issues as well. So I always felt like, who's going to love me? Look at me, sort of thing, So
that negative self-talk.
Yeah. So once he came into my life, I was like, well, he showed me. It doesn't matter what you look like.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what you look like. There is someone out there for you. And I guess now that I've been working on myself, getting myself healthier, and I want to say this as well, like sometimes weight loss, you can view it as, once I lose all this weight, I'm going to be healthy and happy, and
it's the emotions attached.
I also want to say that it doesn't matter how much weight you lose, your problems are still going to be there, and it doesn't matter how good you look, you're still going to have problems.
Well said.
And that's why I had to lose weight, I had to face my problems, and that's also kind of going hand in hand.
Yeah. And as brutal as that sounds, that is why people lose all the weight, but then they put it back on weeks, months, years later. It's because they haven't dealt with their stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff's still there.
Yeah.
As I said before, it's a relationship with food. You're an emotional eater.
Yep.
We can delve into that. We have a bit of time left. You were an emotional eater, whereas I was an emotional exerciser, but you're an emotional eater.
Yeah, I was.
So
Yeah.
do you want to delve into that quickly, and then we'll wrap it up? Give us a quick...
Sometimes I would eat because I was bored too. So
There we go,
there was that element in there too. So I'll admit that. I never did it.
But it was always the bad food, wasn't it, Jordy?
Yeah. Yeah. But I also, when you were
eating a chocolate, when you were eating a lolly, what were you trying to hope to find from that?
Love. But I was also trying to make myself feel better for whatever I was going through at the time. So whether that was the bullying and all of that, I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to make myself feel better, and I didn't realize at the time that eating better food actually makes you feel better.
It does. It does.
Because I feel like sometimes you can eat the junk food and all that, and it will give you that. Sometimes I've heard this a few times, especially with chocolate. It can give you that little endorphin in you, and it'll give you that hit to, I'm happy. But as soon as that runs out, and as soon as that piece of chocolate has gone through your body, you're gonna fall and you're gonna hit pretty. It's like the best way to describe it is like a sugar rush. It's like
Drugs,
a caffeine hit.
Yep.
You
Drugs,
get on
alcohol,
that. You get on that
too.
high, but once that high wears off, you're gonna be faced with your problems again.
Yeah, and that's what I used alcohol for, exercising for.
And I know
it's a relationship with it.
And I know this might sound weird to you guys, but yeah, I am. Because I am working in a cafe, there's a lot of cakes and a lot of sweets around, but I don't have that temptation to, I want to have that, I want to eat that. Yeah, I look at them, I'm like, gee, they look good.
Tell the viewers and the listeners how powerful magnesium is in combating those cravings plus the emotions attached. The magnesium and the emotions go hand in hand.
It does, but even with magnesium, it wasn't the fact that it was a craving. It was the fact that
it was the emotions attached.
No. It was the temptation of knowing that it was there and that it was easy accessible. So we live about a minute away from an IGA. So just knowing that, and I could go there and get whatever I want.
Yeah, okay.
That was hard because it was the temptation of, if I feel like chocolate, I'll just go get some. Or if I feel like chips, I'll go get some. That was fine. That was close enough. I had money, and that was the hardest thing for me to deal with was the temptations. It was not that I craved it. It was a temptation of just knowing it was there. So, if I just, felt like it, I'll just go get it.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like a craving, but to me, in my head, it's not because it was the temptation of just knowing it was there.
Mm.
And especially because our dad loves the chocolate and loves his lollies, and knowing that it was in the house and knowing how easy and quickly I could just get it, just knowing that was detrimental growing up as well.
Yeah. Pretty powerful stuff. Pretty powerful journey, pretty powerful story.
And I just want to clarify, I'm not blaming Dad in any way, shape or form. The
food was in the house.
It was just the fact that the food was in the house, and I know he still loves it, and I know it's there, but I've changed that temptation, that mindset of knowing it's there and wanting it to, I know it's there, but I don't have to eat it.
Yeah.
And once I got myself out of that, look at me now.
We have come a long way in the 25 years you've been on this earth for. We are all here for a reason. Jordy and I were here for a reason. We were meant to reconnect through some stuff we had going on at home, which we can talk about in another podcast down the road. For us to come together the way we have, I wouldn't change it for the world. And
I wouldn't either.
If we didn't come together, I'd really, really hate to know where we'd be right now. Probably not here. Probably not here doing this.
Yeah, I feel like
our bond is so strong now, though.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and I know I get annoyed at you at times, and you get annoyed with me. It would never be like it was, no. And I would never change. I wouldn't change it because it was a lesson for the both of us to learn that at the end of the day, we've only got each other.
Yep.
We can have all the friends in the world and we can be over here and over there, but I don't know, it hits differently when it's your family. Like when you're blood, your family, it's kind of a different ball game.
I feel like we can wrap this up by discussing, well, not discussing, but there are two people that have crossed over that have been very powerful in our lives, especially in the last 12 months. I feel like our grandfather was very, very strong in terms of telling us to leave when he came to me that night.
Well, I was going to say, he told you to leave. I actually asked him, him being, as in Grandpa being the spirit, I actually asked him to leave my room because he came to me when I was trying to go to sleep.
So he came to me and said, you and Jordan need to leave. You need to learn, heal, love and grow. And we did that. We come back and Grandpa helped me write that book. He helped me do all of those things. But now he's taken a backward step, but he's still around. But my cousin Garen's taken the mantle now at the moment. There's some pretty strange things going on at the moment in my personal life that Garen's helping me through. And having that feather in my pocket the other day was just one of his practical jokes. So,
and I also want to bring up too, so with the power of music, I actually found this song, so I'll just get it up. So I found this song today.
So just to leave while you get that song up, to have that spiritual presence in our lives is the most beautiful thing.
The goosebumps is like, it's hard to explain the kind of goosebumps
I've gone in
you
that
get.
before.
Like, it's incredible.
It came to us that goosebumps were the way they would communicate.
Mainly Grandpa, I feel,
and Garen's cracks and stuff in the wall.
Yeah, our cousin Garen, all these, it's weird, like he makes these cracks in the wall and the roof, and that's kind of like how he makes
played
his
practical
presence.
jokes on us as well.
Yeah.
We were walking along the other day, I picked up this awesome white feather, put it in my pocket, only to find 15 minutes later it was stuck in my singlet. Like, you can't, for people that aren't aware of this spiritual stuff, how do you explain my singlet going from my pocket into my singlet? So there you go. Beautiful thing, no. That's just the person he was when he was with us, and it's the person he is now that he's crossed over, and it's just incredible. So
I just want to get onto this song for a minute.
Yep,
so
this song, and we'll wrap it up.
It's interesting. It's by Jewel. So if you haven't gone into Jewel, certainly do it. She's
got some very powerful songs out
there.
Got
some very powerful songs.
Her song "Intuition" and "Grateful," and "What You Are," is it?
Yeah, "What You Are." They're
the three powerful songs I feel of Jules.
But there's this song that she had on an album. So it actually turns out she wrote it in 1998, which is the year I was born. So
here we go.
It's kind of interesting. It's an album called Spirit, and I've gotten into it lately. And there's a song on there called Fat Boy. And the interesting thing is, because when I first heard it, I was like, gee, what a weird song. Like, what a weird title. So I wanted to hear it once I heard that title. And so I've read today that she wrote it about a boy she grew up with who committed suicide on her family's property in Alaska. There was a note that he left, and he said something along the lines of, "Nobody will love me, and to know that you're not sexually attractive in our society at age 13, or to feel that you won't ever be loved at age 18 is just devastating." And that's what she wrote the song about. And so the reason why I brought that up is because some of the lyrics of the song is very interesting. Like, she starts the song off by saying, "Fat boy goes to the pool, sees his reflection, doesn't know what to do. He feels little inside and filled with pride." Like, it's just so interesting, and I felt like I really connected to that song because of what I went through in my past of not loving myself, of basically feeling the same as that boy did.
I think there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way.
And so I feel like, it's so important to listen to songs that build you up. And I know that song, it reminded me of the past, but I needed to face it. And I feel like the reason why I brought this song up, and the reason why I had to face it, was so that when I do listen to this song and it comes up in my playlist, there's no emotions attached. And it's not bringing up bad feelings. It's just bringing up, like, you know what? I can relate to this song because I went through that. And there's a lot of songs in my playlist that are like that, and there's actually more songs that actually make me feel good. So
if you would like some recommendations of songs, reach out. We have lots of them.
And I feel like the reason why I'm bringing up music so much is because it is such a powerful tool. And if you listen to the right music that builds you up, it's going to make you feel better. And that's why I brought that as an example, because as much as it made me feel bad, it still made me feel good, because I was like, you know what?
I've come so far.
Look at how far I've come. Yeah, I can relate to that boy who committed suicide now that I know the meaning of the song. And yeah, I can relate to that fat boy, but look at me now.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a really, really good podcast. I feel like it's going to resonate with a lot of people. What I'll do with these podcasts is at the end of them, the guests I have on will tell and share a dad joke, because I love my dad jokes. I always have, and that part of me will not change. So I feel like a dad joke from Jordy would be the perfect way to wrap it up, even if it's a little bit inappropriate. That's okay. Hit us with a dad joke. Let's go, brother.
What did the egg say to the boiling water?
What?
I don't know if I can get hard. I just got laid this morning.
That's a perfect way to finish. I guess thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. This will be on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble. We'll both share the hell out of it. I hope you guys share the hell out of it. I hope this reaches a lot of people. If you're ever stuck, if you ever feel like you want to break free or you're feeling a pull, please reach out. I have free Zoom conversations with you. We don't have to fill out a questionnaire. But that questionnaire, we get to the root cause of why you do what you do. But feel free. Just jump on Zoom, you run the conversation, we can share dad jokes, we can do whatever you want.
And I really hope, just to sum up for me, that for those of you that watch this and have gone through what I've gone through, or even had similar experiences, or even currently going through it, I really hope this resonates with you and it gives you a sense of, you know what, I don't want you to be like me, but to give you that sense of, I can get there too. I don't want you to be and model and do the things that I did and, you know, take on the tools that I did, because it may not work for you.
You got to find what works for you, but we can give you that nudge to help you find that.
So I just hope that it resonates with you and gives you a sense of, you know, it steps you down from that ledge of wanting to end everything to be like, you know what, there is something better out there for me. There is a reason and a purpose for why I'm here.
Well said.
So I hope that's what this gives you.
Jordy's links will be below: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook.
And I know we didn't
email.
And I know we didn't touch on it much, but I am a medium.
Jordy's a medium, energy healer, tarot reader, soon to be Reiki. I'll soon to be Reiki as well. So stay tuned. Watch this space.
Yeah,
we're about to shoot off. All right. So thank you, Jordy.
Thank you.
Excellent. We'll wrap that up.